And we are live. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Ali. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Right, so this is a bit different.
You did the intro.
Today is day 22 of 28 Lockdown Level Up. First of all, I just want to apologize for not being here this morning. I was feeling a little bit under the weather, but we're all good to go. We did say every day we would go live on Facebook and we would bring out a 15-minute daily podcast. So here we are at 6:30 and ready to go. So today it's a Throwback Thursday. So we decided that we would take it back a little bit and kind of figure out what we would tell ourselves or the 10-year someone who is 10 years younger than us, or things that we had known 10 years ago that we know today. So without revealing our ages, we've come together with some bits that we think is really useful and something that we think we wish we could have known about more when we were younger. So me being 26, I would obviously be speaking to the 16-year-old version of myself, and Ali is only 21, so he would be talking about his 11-year-old version of himself. So Ali, you are the coach of all coaches with some sound advice. So basically, you would be telling me and giving me some great advice, because obviously you're 36 and I'm 26. So let's hear it. What is something that you wish you had known when you were 10 years younger? What's the best advice that you think a 26-year-old should have from your own experience?
Okay, so you'll see loads of people out there that on Instagram and Facebook telling you to hustle, work all day, work 50 hours a day and you'll get results.
Yeah.
And you might have a feeling of that you need to impress, and this is, you would not be uncommon at 26, or you might be doing this at 46, but working 18 hours a day, 15 hours a day, working any more than your agreed contract means that you're giving your time for nothing. And if you are doing a job which is contracted for 40 hours a week, say, and you're putting in 60 hours, does that mean that you are not capable of doing the job in 40 hours? It could mean that you're overreaching and maybe you need to take a backward step instead of always chasing the pound. It could mean that you've been over promoted. Or it might just mean that you're trying to do too much for that job role.
100%.
So you should always be able to do the job in the allotted time. And there's so many people who are doing more than their hours. And if you actually then look at the amount of time you are putting in and take the salary that you're being given for that job role, then you are able to calculate that back to your hourly rate. If I was going back to my younger self at 26, I was probably being paid minimum wage to manage multiple retail locations.
Maximum workload.
So I could have just been doing a bar job for the same hours and making the same money. And it leads to a bad place. Yeah, not for everybody. Some people can cope with it. I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it led to a place where my diet was crap because of it. My use of alcohol, drugs, my social life took a dip. My relationships took a dip.
Did
My
this stem
family,
from stress, or was it just because it's just convenient to do those things?
it was not stress necessarily, being so busy, feeling that I had to be there all the time, feeling that if I wasn't there, things would go to shit because I
Yeah.
was in this total control of everything. And there's ways of getting the same results through less time.
Do you think, in terms of if you're in management, then that's when delegation comes in, is to hand over that control to people, the team that you trust, knowing that in your absence, the same results will still get done.
Yeah. And to delegate properly, you have to be prepared to relinquish control and give somebody full autonomy and responsibility.
Yeah.
And it was this feeling of control. It was a feeling that when you don't give people some of that work, it means you don't trust them. But it's this feeling of also you wanting to do everything because you want to impress, that you can do everything. I can do it all. And it does lead to, it led me down a very dark path, and everybody could see it, and everybody was telling me. So this might just be another voice telling you that you don't need to do it. I remember you're going on holiday and having to take my laptop with me and finishing up work before I would, when I was on the plane flying out, and then finishing up work over the first couple of days, and it taken me, then when I did finally stop to relax, it taken me another 2 or 3 days to relax, so that my holidays were being given away.
Yeah. And that precious time that you should be spending and enjoying and living in that moment is now being replaced with work. And your boss is none the wiser because, they don't understand because you've kind of given into it.
Yeah. I remember my dad telling me a story not so long ago. My wise old dad. Here he comes
Oh,
again.
oh, Dad.
And him being in Italy, and this, me working all those hours was definitely my upbringing. I was showing hard work through my mum and my dad. They both worked their asses off. And it was maybe me feeling that not only did I have to impress my bosses, maybe I felt like I had to impress my family. What I didn't realize is they had similar learnings. My dad told me a story. Two things about being in Italy. One's waking up in Rome and not knowing where he was, and turning around and saying, "I've got to go home. I've got a young family. I can't be here. I don't even know where I was." He was just in another hotel room in another city. And if you are traveling for work, guaranteed every hotel room, no matter what name it says above the door, looks the same.
100%.
They've all got a Bible in the top drawer.
And the UHT milk.
It's him.
The little sachets of the milk.
Yeah, they've all got a TV with the same channels. They've all got they've all got the same breakfast buffet. You're eating all that stuff. Like, they all look the same, and you might not know where you are. But taking a lesson from the Italians, and I did do some learning yesterday, Danny, and today.
Huh? Oh, wow.
And if I was given my self advice as a young boy, or le ragazzi, which is boy,
Ragazzi.
but yeah, so my dad had a meeting with Italian engineers, and he was talking about, okay, we can change this process, and we can streamline this, and that would mean that we'd need less of this, and it would improve efficiency. And the guy saying to him, "No." My dad going, "What, you like really trying to encourage them to make these efficiency changes?" It wasn't until later on that night my dad sat down and said, "Why are you so against these things?" And the Italian guy saying to my dad, "I put those things in place. He doesn't have a job tomorrow. He doesn't have a job tomorrow. He doesn't have a job tomorrow. And they're my priority. I look after my people."
Look after the people. 100%.
And I remembered that. And I've had this second time I've had mentioned this today. So I went out for a walk with my neighbor today, and I was talking about putting in too much hours. Must have just been on my brain. And giving our content away early, Danny. What is going on?
Oh
What
boy.
if she's stolen it? I said, in this economy where we're seeing people being made redundant and unemployed, if we all take on extra work and keep saying yes, I'll do that, or yes, I'll do that, yes, I'll do that, when actually these companies need another person to be doing that work, are we also responsible for these people losing their jobs?
Yes, we are known to be a bit selfish, to take all the credit when in actual fact it's not actually good for us or the economy in some respect, is it?
It might mean that we're, our friends, that we work with, our colleagues, and they suddenly been made redundant because we're doing all the work.
Yeah.
And she responded with, she agreed, and she also said, but also, if there becomes a time you're doing all this work and you're working your butt off and you're doing 6 days a week, your boss believes that this is happening within your allotted time. When the time comes and your boss turns around to you and goes, guys, we just need to give a bit extra, how can you? How can you, when you do need to get the whole team needs to get involved and you need to pull together and you need to do a bit extra work, if everybody's doing more than they're allotted already, where are they going to find that extra time from?
Yeah,
And
100%.
so, yeah, work to rule, people. Work to rule.
It is true though, because if I think of it, like if you had to leave that company, you kind of think, well, that company would be nothing without me, when in actual fact, if you could put systems in place that without you being there, the company would still run, that yourself would give you that satisfaction to say what you've put in place and these are the results that can still be achieved without you being there. So I think I definitely agree with you. It's something that I learned from you. I think the first coaching call we had, the first consultation we had was one of that, is to not burn out. And that's something you told me when I was 26 earlier this year.
There's the one thing that I learned from being made redundant, and it's the old thing of you're only a number. We all feel like, and a lot of companies do go about trying to make their employees feel really valued. They give us lots of benefits. They give us longer holidays than we're entitled to. They give us good pensions. All these nice things, and they are valued. They are needed. I think they're worthwhile. But when it comes down to it, whenever you don't have a name within a business, and the only thing I'd say is, how do you know that? Phone your HR or phone your IT team. What's the first question they ask you? What's your employee number?
Who does? New phone, who does?
But they do. They say that. What's your employee number? And that's how you know you're just a number. And that came out
Very
of
true.
Ireland, that from redundancy. When you get made redundant and people are going down a spreadsheet, they don't go, oh, that's Alistair. He works 60 hours a week for us. Keep him. They're just looking at employee numbers.
Very sad.
It is quite sad, and I am not taking away from the corporate world, and they gave me so much, and I worked for some brilliant companies. I worked for some brilliant managers, and still do. But work out how you are going to get the very best from your job in the allotted time, because that time that you're giving to them, you're taking away from your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your relationships, your friends, yourself. And it's about balance.
Yeah.
You look at
and when you look back all that time you've spent on a company where, like you say, you're just a payroll number, is it really a life that you're living to the fullest, making memories rather than being stuck behind your desk or in a warehouse or of some sort? So sound advice.
What do you want your gravestone to say? Do you want it to say loving father, great friend, husband, wife? Or do you want it to say good worker, worked 60 hours a week.
Payroll number.
Yeah, payroll number. You don't. Yeah, so
No,
if I
definitely
could
not.
give myself, and that's, but it was, I had to learn that, and I had to learn that life was, I could do a good job in my allotted hours. And there's still people now, I look at some people now, 45, 50, 60, still starting work at 6 a.m., not finishing until 8 p.m. And even those people, I'm saying, hello, wake up. We don't always need to do more and more and more and more and more.
And I think it's also, you know, as much as it's our responsibility to not take on extra work than we're contracted for, I think it's also the responsibility of like the management team or your boss to respect your time outside of work. So if to not make you feel obliged that you need to do something, otherwise your job is on the line if it's out of hours. So I think there needs to be the balance, that understanding between both the employer and the employee.
I think I expected the same from other people as I gave from myself. And because I was doing extra hours, I expected everybody else to do it. And when they didn't want to, and that created an environment within a team I managed, which was very stressful. And to all those people, I apologize. Because it made me a bit of an ass of a manager.
Yeah, because you never, you know, people have lives. People have lives. They don't, Ali, they want to live their life, man. They just come there to do the job and they leave.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they're not passionate. It just means they're not passionate. Just they don't hold as much passion as what you do. They have passion in
Doesn't
other
mean that they don't
aspects of
hold
their
as
life.
much passion. It just means that they don't hold that passion for 16 hours a day. And make yourself inefficient sometimes. You're working that many hours, you're not efficient. There's ways of doing it. And the work I do with a lot of people when I'm coaching, and I'll get them to do the exercise of, okay, 24 minus 8 that you need for your sleep.
Oh yeah, we've done this one.
Yeah, add half an hour either side for getting to bed and getting up, and 9 hours. Add in an hour a day to wash and clean and go to the toilet. Your basic needs. You're at 10 hours. Add in a couple of hours a day to eat. You're at 12 hours. Then put 8 hours in for work. You're at 20. Add in an hour either side for commute. You're at 22. 2 hours a day left for you and for your family. Monday to Friday. So, do you want to give those 2 hours to a business, or do you want to give them back to yourself and to you? But then what happens then when you're then working the weekend and you're giving away those, the other 12 that you had. So you're giving, you've got 34 hours free a week. How many of those free hours do you want to give to a business when you're not being paid for them? Yeah. Anyway, thanks. Good night. See you later.
Right, so that's a working 26-year-old then. So if that brings me to the 16-year-old me, who's probably still in school, I'm hoping. The thing that I would tell someone 10 years younger than me is to not change. So don't ever dull your sparkle. Don't ever tone it down just because you think that you won't fit in, because you don't want to fit in anyways. But my advice would be that, you're going to be exposed to all sorts of people, all sorts of environments. You're going to learn, you're going to get new jobs, you're going to study. In between then, I think that it's going to mold you to the person that you become now, being 26, well, in 10 years' time. But don't ever lose that thing that makes you you, no matter what anyone says. And don't ever expect anyone else to do the same thing. Just be yourself. That's what I would tell someone who's 16 years old.
And that's so difficult when you're still maybe trying to work out who you are.
Yeah.
but we do often lose. Everybody has an identity, don't we? Because your identity is only what you are known for. So, what are you known for at 16? You
don't know.
You will be able to work out what are you're known as the fun person, you're known as this, the geek, you're known as the studier, you're known as the great sports person. What are you known for? And try to keep that with you.
Yeah.
Because I had that identity. You had that identity. What were you known for then, Danny, at 16?
For me, I I had braces and freckles, and I wasn't a geek, I don't say. I was just normal, but I wanted to be a cool kid, but at the same time I also wanted to learn. So I think I couldn't figure out my identity then, but I did know that I was bubbly. I felt very charismatic, but I feel like I couldn't have been myself then because it wasn't cool. So people would look at you if you had to say just be yourself and you wanted to act cool, or not cool, you wanted to act bubbly and just out there and have some sort of character that's different from the clique that you're in, then you're kind of frowned upon. And I think, but that's society, isn't it? It's the normal high school. So braces, freckles, bubbly, just a bit ditzy, kind of how I am now, just with wire. Still got freckles, but yeah, I think I was just a normal, nice person. And growing up, I still want to be that person, but you often think like, oh, it's not. I should probably tone it down a bit because maybe it's not going to get me this job, or it's not going to get me into this kind of group of friends or this social bubble or things like that. So now thinking back, like, I want to be like this. If someone says, oh, why are you going live on Facebook? Because I want to. Why aren't you on Facebook? Because I don't want to. Fine. Well, then you don't want to. Fine, whatever. Why are you starting a blog? Because I want to. I don't want anybody to have that feeling that they can't do something because they're worried about what other people will say. If they want to do it, just do it. Provided that it's legal.
And yeah, that's so true. If you want to do it, do it. Yeah. Don't let anybody hold you back. Don't let your fears, just live, be happy.
Yeah. Do what makes you happy, man. Do what makes you happy. That's what I think.
And I often think when people, if you were asking people, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? They'd maybe say, work harder at school, stay in school. Fuck that, man. I did everything for a reason. I didn't want to go to school because I hate school. There was no telling me. I was, I wanted to be the rebel and go to the pub at 16. So keep doing that. Doing that. I learned so much more by going to the pub at 16 than I did in school anyway.
You learn more through experience. They don't teach you about tax and mental health and things like that. Or I don't know now. I've not been in school for a while, but they don't teach you about things like that you should be prepared for heading out into the real world, So I don't blame you if you learnt more in the pub. Probably had some decent conversations.
Yeah, I would say, go get a job. If you're not working at 16, go get a job because it will stand you on the greatest steads to move forward. I know people that have gone to all the way through university and have never been employed and come out the other side expecting to be able to get a job, and they know nothing about work. Get yourself the part-time job, because you'll realize that you're suddenly treated like an adult. But often people at 16, I think, are striving so much to want to be treated like an adult. you'll make new friendship groups. I started hanging out with people much older than me, just by going into a workplace environment, because they also accepted me for who I was, and I could be who I wanted to be a lot easier.
And you don't have an ego, do you?
I've always
kind
had
of
an ego. But we do all have an ego, Danny. And,
yes, but you kind of are more humbled by life's experiences. And that as well is something that I think I wish I had known 10 years ago, is that, because you think learning is not cool, studying is not cool. No, when you're learning about things that you want to know about and you're passionate about, then I think you should never stop learning. You should never stop finding ways and never stop exploring things and different subjects outside of your scope. So I think that's important, and always learn from other people. Never think that you know it all, because there's a saying that I know, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. That's good, because you got to learn from people around you. There's always something to learn. So that's something.
I'd love to know what a 16-year-old was telling us advice. Yeah. Flip that around.
Do you know one?
No, don't. It's, I do actually. It's, I do know one. It's my friend's boy.
I think you should find out and see.
I'm gonna ask. What would you tell me to do? Stop going live on Facebook. You're embarrassing yourself.
Make more TikTok videos.
Make more TikTok. There would be stuff like that. You get on TikTok. Oh,
have fun. Yeah.
Dance.
Snapchat now.
Snapchat, TikTok, whatever it is. But yeah, we can take advice. The amount of times that we have a chat or a coaching session or whatever, Danny, and I'm like, go away thinking, God, this, and you're sending me like YouTube videos of Facebook and advertising and stuff.
Yeah, because you bounce off one another,
learning off of people of all ages. From the wise old man that once tells me X, Y, or Z to somebody.
Your dad.
My dad. No, I've met other wise men. There's three, isn't there?
There is no one wiser than your dad.
My dad just talks from experience. There's I think there's have you heard the thing about, if you want to know what people's regrets in life are, go and spend an afternoon in an old people's home and ask them, and none of them will say, I didn't buy this car, I didn't buy that house, I didn't do this, I didn't. It will be, I didn't spend enough time with this person, didn't spend enough time with that person. I didn't stop and take time for myself. I lived too hard and too fast. I didn't, I lived too slow and too, there'll be those types of things.
And I think one that will creep up is, I spend too much time on my phone. That's one that's going to creep up. I can tell you, I spend too much time on social media. I spend too much time, looking at videos on Facebook when I should have been out there with my family. I spend too much time talking to people. No
spoiler alerts, but I think that's in JS's book.
Is it?
The thing he mentions. No, maybe it was on the podcast I listened to. I listen so much, I struggle sometimes to identify where they've come from. Nobody's going to say I got 800 likes on a Facebook post. Remember the things that they did. Nobody's going to, they might talk about I was able to inspire somebody, but nobody's going to say, yeah, I sent 3,000 tweets. They're not gonna say those things.
Good job, bud. I'll get you into the pearly gates.
Right, come here. How many Instagram followers did you have?
Yeah. Right, let me see. What's your Instagram name? Let's go.
I wish I had no. 8 followers. You're a no, mate. You're
Look at that, only 43 likes on this photo.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So,
Well, it's been a long podcast, hasn't it?
was there more to discuss, Danny?
I just said that, and be kind. Be kind. You never know the story that people are going through. You never know their story. So don't bully people. It's not nice. Be kind and always be there for people.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I can say, and if I was 16 years old and I knew that in a few years' time I was going to lose someone close to me, I can guarantee you the way I had spent my time with them and everybody else would be much different. I wouldn't have taken time, or even things I said in heated arguments for granted, because for me, when I lost my first love when I was 21, had I known that 5 years later from being 16 that he was going to walk into my life when I was 16, 5 years later I'd land up losing him, I can guarantee my actions would have been different. I wouldn't have said nasty things when you're young in heated debates and things like that. I just would have taken a bit more time to choose my words wisely.
And that
So,
can be difficult, but you never hold a grudge.
no, never hold a grudge, but it does make you think.
Yeah. As yeah, I've got a friend who I'm sure, having lost his brother, and they weren't talking when he lost him, that lives with him forever. And the same family, um, the dad said at the funeral, there may have been a lot of things about my boy, but one thing his mother said to me, mum and dad would split up, but the mum and dad came back together at that time. And he said one thing his mother said to me the other day, do you know he phoned me every day and said he loved me? And nobody would have said that about that person. And that's what the mum remembered.
Wow.
Yeah, because we always perceive we're going to lose somebody who's older. But it doesn't take 2 minutes to phone your mum and say, I love you.
Yeah.
And it's, and I've had arguments with friends before where when I lost my mum and we were drinking the night before Mother's Day, and they started to be like, oh, do you know what? I might not go and see my mum tomorrow. And I was like, what? And they were like, and I got right in their face. I lost it. I got right in their face, and I was like, you fucking go and see your mother, because I don't fucking have one to go and see.
Yeah.
And they were like, do you know what? I woke up that next morning and they were both gone. Yeah, because it doesn't, and it shouldn't be about Mother's Day, but it's not just about mums, but
it's the idea that
and you can't have gone back to our earlier conversation. If you're giving 60 hours a week to a business, to a false entity, you can't be giving that time to your people you love.
Yeah.
And if I was to start to phone my dad every day and tell him I loved him, he'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
No,
he'd be like, okay?
He'd be like, how much?
Come on, how much you talking? How much you talking?
Yeah, how much? What is that? How bad is it? What have you done now?
Yeah.
But we can each give more time to the people around us that we love and we care about.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it's not difficult to drop a message to somebody. Once a week, once a fortnight. Yeah, I'm probably talking to myself here, but I can see a couple of people watching, so hopefully we're getting around to getting through to people. But definitely, be kind. There's too much other shit going on in the world to not be.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, that was a deep live we've done today. That's what happens at the 6:30 ones. Get really intense, don't they?
We've had all day to think about it. Deep dive live. Did you like that?
So, Ali will be back tomorrow. Yes, 8:15 ish.
Yeah, there's ish. And we look forward to chatting to everybody. And I didn't post to our podcast platforms yesterday's episode yet, so you'll get another double whammer later today. You might even get a triple whammer tomorrow. They're always on Facebook if you want to see them. But we'll drop them onto the other platforms, and I look forward to him back in the morning, Danny.
I will see you in the morning.
13 hours time, we're back.
Yes, and it's Friday then.
There you are. Thank you, everybody, who's watching. If you haven't hit like, hit like.
Hit like.
If you haven't hit share.
Hit share.
And leave some comments for us. If you've got any questions or anything's touched you this evening, our DMs are open and we'll be happy to help. Slide in to the DMs. So we will speak to you in the morning.